requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using our intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
We make it our business to know your business. South Florida's Money Talk Radio.
South Florida's Money Talk Radio.
WSBR.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Seibel. I'm excited to announce my new show called Ask Robert, which will be on Fridays from 3 to 4 p.m. I'm an attorney and public speaker. I began my career in Wall Street and formed my own law firm over 30 years ago in New York and Florida. I've specialized in tax planning for celebrities and high-income individuals, as well as representing corporate and international business transactions. I am currently associated with a global commercial real estate and business financial company. On my show, we'll be covering stock market wrap-up for the week, as well as mortgage financing, investing, real estate, insurance law, and other general subjects of interest to you with my very fascinating guests. I also plan to have a special Ladies' Day 1 week a month to cover issues of greater interest to women, such as divorce, social, and financial matters, with very special female guests. Now, let's on with the show. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robert Seibel. Welcome to my show, Ask Robert, the Women's Prophet. I've decided really to devote my show full-time now to women's financial and legal issues. So week by week, particularly any issues that you have that pertain mostly to women, these are the issues that we're going to be covering. Certainly you'll be able to call in as well in the second half of the hour. Now, I just want to make sure you know how to find the show on AM. We're on 740 AM. We're on 96.9 and 103.9 FM, and as well as Facebook, live streaming, and YouTube. To get to me on Facebook, just merely indicate Ask Robert Radio. And on YouTube, you can go to AMP2 TV and enter Ask Robert and scroll down to the show. Okay, with that said, I just want to tell you in a minute or two why I've done this show and the way we're doing it. In essence, I want to do a show devoted to women because right now there are all kinds of shows, men talking to men, giving all kinds of financial and other news over the years. There certainly are many shows with women. We have Oprah, we have Wendy Williams, you have Ellen DeGeneres, you have The Talk, you have The View, you have Susie Orman. These are all women speaking to women. And of course, we do have Dr. Oz giving medical information to women, and Dr. Phil is a man giving relationship information to women. But there is no one on television, a man, giving legal and financial information to women. And that's what I want to do with this show, because I care about women, okay? Unfortunately, men tend to think mostly about themselves. I, on the other hand, I'm much more motivated. I want to help women. That's my goal. And I hope this show will be the way to do it. Now, I'm very, very delighted today to have as a special guest at the beginning of my show, a lady named Candace Rojas. Candace is the founder of an organization called STARS Foundation, and we're going to get right into it and ask her exactly what STARS Foundation is all about. So, Candace, welcome to the show.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me, Robert. Your introduction actually serves as a great introduction for my own story. My charity was started about a year ago, starsfoundation.org, and basically what you stated about women not really having financial and legal information could pertain to myself personally. So a few years back, unfortunately, I went through a divorce. And prior to that, I actually had a husband that took care of all those types of things. So my job was just to take care of the kids, and I did a lot of volunteering. And although I have a great educational background, I never really applied that background, and I never really had to do that. So what happened was I found myself in a situation where when you first get divorced, a lot of times you leave your friends that are married and you get into this whole new realm of single women, and then you understand all their intricacies. So over the past few years, unfortunately, I've noticed people needed help. And so I thought to myself, wow, it's interesting because middle America just sometimes you don't think that they need help. You're thinking someone that needs help is perhaps, someone very destitute, but there's just different levels of need, if you will, for women, and there's different stages. So our mission is to empower women, children, and I did include families because I don't ever want to suggest that I'm trying to separate families, but a lot of times women and children need the support most of all. So to empower women, children, and families to shine in everyday life. And it's providing 5 different pillars. And if you look at a star, there's 5 little points to the star, and they include advocacy, mentorship, education, resources, and safe and affordable housing. And I decided to do that by connecting a network of caring partners. Those caring partners are media partners, business, community, and faith-based partners. And basically, I've already had an infrastructure built over the past few decades, being a mother of 4 children and being on a lot of these committees. But there are still gaps in resources available. And sometimes I say you can't help the entire world, but you can help those in your immediate world. And I have a heart for people, and I have a heart for the underdog, if you will. I love to help. And it's funny because I think our life goes in ebbs and flows, and there's been times I've been on the top, there's been times I've sort of dipped down, and just like everyone, and I feel like everybody needs support. And so I had this vision, and I had big dreams, but I didn't really have solutions. But I was just sharing with my friends and trying to figure it out, and in the process, I built a team of the most dynamic women. If I could have dreamt these women, I would have dreamt them, but I didn't even know they were out there. And they actually came to me. It was almost like, I always believe it's like a divine appointment, if you will, from the Lord, which sounds kind of corny, but they came to me, and I feel like I love each one of them, and they all have different gifts and talents to offer, but the key ingredient is their heart. They all want to serve. They all want to help. They happen to be drop dead gorgeous, many of them. That helps to get a little bit of PR attention. But the true essence is they're on Sundays, we're at the churches, and we're at the existing places, helping out and helping the homeless. And we have a new product to help find a solution for affordable housing.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. I love it. And, it's very special. And I think that you should really be commended. In life, there are only 1% of people that make things happen, 4% of people, they watch things happen, and 95% of people say, what happened? They read about it in the paper the next day. To be in that group of people, 1% making things happen, means that you're a blessed person. You're a person that's changing the world, and what you're doing is changing the world in your world of women that you're working with, and I think that's terrific. And I'm really, really proud of what you've been telling me. I know that every time I've helped a woman in the last 30 years, which I've devoted to helping women in my law practice, I've been able to honor my sister's memory. She passed away many years ago. Let me ask you, by the way, I don't want to neglect Candace's partner here. She's sitting right to her left. Lisa, would you like to say a few words, perhaps?
Sure.
With us?
It's so nice to be here with you all today.
She's
Should we
a little
switch
off
places?
the camera at the moment. If you move the microphone maybe over to, although she's not going to be actually on camera, so maybe you want to just switch seats. Well, yeah, that's, you can, there you go. You can, great. All right, good. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Lisa Sussman. I'm a proud board member of STARS Foundation.
Yes.
We're a foundation, as Candace said, that is looking to help within our community, where we really have a local goes global message.
Good.
We're based in South Florida, but our ideas really are global, bringing affordable houses to this area in the form of container homes, where we're able to raise money through the foundation by partnering with local community sponsors like Uzu Bay and Meisner Park.
Really?
Yes, as well as they're going to be holding some events for us.
Right.
We were just a part of the Home Foundation, where we went into the Methodist Church
Right.
last weekend, and we helped to distribute
Right.
and sort
Right.
and be on hand for whatever it is that we could to help
That's
with
great.
the homeless that day. And I feel as though Candace's message has inspired us all.
That's great. Now, how does a woman who's in need connect with STARS? How do they find you?
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Well, right now we have a website, starsfoundation.org. It's with
Right.
the Z.
Okay.
Stars with the Z, foundation.org. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also LinkedIn.
Right.
And info at starsfoundation.org. And I have a phone number, which I want to make sure I don't give you.
Yeah, tell them slowly and repeat it.
Sure. It is 561-510-6300 is our phone number, our local number. And it's info at starsfoundation.org if you'd like to email me. But what we're looking for are partners, caring partners that share our vision. And then we also have the ability to highlight them so that it's almost not just we're not asking for just a check, if you will. We want to find out if there's ways that we can help them, because our network, our membership is to support and help those in that membership.
Yeah.
And my idea is to have a Stars Clubhouse, which is a cool space, almost a co-sharing space for the members, where we'll have Wi-Fi, couches, and we can collaborate. And so that people that have a small business for a very small fee can use that address as their professional address. And Lisa has the ability to do professional photos of them, to get their infrastructure set up if they needed, a startup type of thing. We have another board member, Lynn, who's a professional recruiter that can help with job placement. So believe it or not, as I said earlier, there's different levels of homelessness, and then there's people without a house, or perhaps they're in between, and they just need support. They need resources. They need friendship. They need mentorship. And the ladies in our group, many of them, they're all different ages. They're some married, some single, and we all have the same heart, the same goal. So if you become a member, you know that you have a support system. And one of the famous leaders, I believe it's Jim Roll, I hope I'm saying it correctly, but he says we are a combination of the top 5 people that we spend the most time with. So we want to have sort of a top 5 group within the group. We're going to have an online form, and through an algorithms, figure out who are your top 5, and that will be almost your support system. So like my children have this huge, wonderful Cuban family, and they all get together and they fight it out, and there's fun, but not everybody has that. So myself, I really don't have that personally. So my friends kind of become that family, and I believe there's many people like that. So we want to be that person, and I hope people join and call us and find out how we can help you.
Now, Candace, if is STARS Foundation a 501c3 organization?
It is 501c3 pending, which should be any day now.
So you'll be a tax-qualified, tax-exempt organization, meaning, as a lawyer, I can tell you, if you make a contribution, it will be tax-deductible.
Correct.
And, of course, tax-exempt to the organization, which is very, very important. Now, if somebody wants to write a check to the organization, would they just contact you on the website, call you? What would be the best procedure? Contact you personally or contact Lisa?
Right now, I do not have the PayPal set up purposely. I wanted to wait until that official 501c3.
Until it's set up,
but we have had checks, and they are, I talked to my accountant, they are going to be retroactive from the date that I applied. So everything is legal and ready to go, and I have lawyers on it.
Wonderful. Well, that sounds great. Well, I want to thank you both very, very much for coming in today, and I hope we'll have a chance to bring you back again in the near future so you can give me a progress report when you get that 501c3 status, and we can expand upon our conversation today. You're both delightful. Like I say, I'm getting whiplash. I don't know what at first. You're both so beautiful and so
Robert.
intelligent. Because I am impressed with women that are not only attractive, but intelligent and meaningful. And
Thank
that's
you,
wonderful.
Robert.
And
God bless
really,
you, and thank you for your show.
Thank you for having
my
us
pleasure.
today, Robert.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Nice to meet you both.
Okay.
I wish you best. Okay. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Thank you so much. Bye now. Okay. All right. I'm going to take my next caller guest now on the phone. Please Is this Bruce Galloway of Galloway Capital?
Yes. Hey, Bob.
Okay.
How you doing?
Bruce, how are you today?
Great, Bob.
Okay, great. So Bruce is the head of Galloway Capital Management. He's the founder of it. He's been a leader in the Wall Street community for 30 years or more. I know Bruce a long time. He's an extremely knowledgeable fellow with a lot of experience on the street. So, Bruce, why don't you give us a little recap of what's going on today in the market for this past week, and then we'll get into a couple of questions.
Well, we've really had a very interesting week this week. The market's been straight up. As you know, in the last month, 2 months, it's been very choppy. It's had some wild swings up and down, inflation fears, political fears. But this week was 5 days straight up. And the reason why it's gone straight up is oil prices. I mean, there's a very, very good correlation between stock prices and oil prices. And one would think it would be the opposite. As oil prices go up, it squeezes the consumer, it squeezes costs, and it hurts people, and stocks would go down. But in retrospect, it's the opposite. When oil prices go up, stocks go up. And why is that? I want to explain why that is, because as oil prices go up, within the S&P and within the Dow Jones, there's such a heavy weighting of energy stocks. So as oil prices go up, earnings go up in the energy sector. And when oil goes from $50 to $70, it's super leveraged into the earnings of oil companies and energy companies.
I see.
So the estimates of earnings go way up. So that means that the P's go way down, and that means that there's more lift in the stock market. So for the last 5 years, there's been a very, very close correlation. In addition to oil prices topping out at $72 this week, which is the highest it's been in 5 years.
Yeah.
We also got very good news on the inflation front. People were expecting inflation to be running 3% plus, and it's actually only running 2% plus. And as I mentioned on my last call, there were inflation and interest rate fears that interest rates are going too high, and as interest rates go high, it's competition for stocks. But now with inflation numbers not going up as much as people expect, people are thinking, hey, stocks are in better shape and bonds are less attractive on a yield basis to stocks. So that's a positive. And then to top everything off, consumer numbers came out, and consumer spending is extremely healthy. Home building is very strong. Spending in stores are very strong, and general confidence is very high right now. So that's the whole situation in the stock market. It seems like it was a perfect week. Everything went straight up. All the political shenanigans on Washington were ignored. I think we're getting used to all the stuff going on with the Trump White House and the Democrats trying to fry him and trying to get him into trouble. I think that's all besides us, and I think that right now people will put it aside and look at the fundamentals, and the fundamentals are strong.
Right.
Earnings are going to be way up. They're going to be up like 15-20% this year.
Right.
And the stock market is still flat for the year. It's barely up for the year.
Yeah.
So you got earnings up 15 to 20%, and the stock market flat. So there's a lot more room ahead of us on the upside.
Bruce, let me throw out a couple of questions to you. First of all, a general one. I've often heard it said that there's still maybe, 30 or 40% or more of the country, the mom and pop people, that are still not in the market. After this huge bull market run we've had for the last 8 or 9 years, people kept saying, 3, 4, 5 years ago, well, the market's got, this bull market's got to end. And so they kept staying out, and, well, it's going to turn. Well, it hasn't turned, and the Dow's been going up thousands and thousands and thousands of points. And my question to you is, at this point, we're at 24,000. It's been a little bit higher, 26,000. If you have any expectation in the next couple of years, granted, we don't know what the future will hold exactly, but do you think that we have, based on other indicators, that the market looks like it'll remain strong for a period of time?
Well, right now, economically, worldwide, we're in Nirvana. I mean, emerging growth countries are doing very well.
Right.
China's continuing to grow 7% plus. India is growing 7% plus.
Right.
The European Union is growing 3% plus. They're doing very well. We're doing very well. Everyone's doing well. It's synchronous growth right around the world. In fact, we're growing slower than the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're growing, 2.5% to 3%. The rest of the world is growing north of 4%, 5%.
Right.
So, albeit a natural disaster, a war, nuclear incident, political upheaval, economically everything is firing on all cylinders, and I don't see anything changing that. I mean, there's a healthy amount of leverage in the system. It's not a lot of leverage in the system. We're not going to the extremes that we went to in 07, 08, 09.
Right.
I think everything looks like the bull market will continue.
Looks good.
Not only will it continue, I think it's broadening right now. When you say we've been in a bull market for 9 years, we have been, but it's only been large cap stocks and liquid stocks and growth stocks like the FANG stocks. It hasn't been in second tier and third tier and value stocks.
I see.
So now it's broadening out. Now it's a real bull market. Before it was kind of like a phantom bull market because a lot of people weren't making money unless they were in ETFs or mutual funds.
Right. Now, it was said to me, more than a few times, that one of the things that's fueled this growth in the market over the last number of years is that interest rates have been at an all-time low, almost 0%, and these major companies like Apple and Microsoft, Walmart and others have been able to borrow money virtually at no interest rate and been able to repurchase their stock, and hence by capturing their stock and lowering the outstanding number of shares, that artificially jacks the price of their shares. In addition, it gives them the opportunity to declare more dividends, which then sends up the shares higher, so that, in effect, the rise in the market is partially artificial in that it's these big companies doing purchasing of their stock. Do you believe in that theory, or is that...
Well, that's partially it. That's probably only 20-25%, but the other 70% or 80% of it is real capital spending. I mean, there's real money out there going into things like the cloud. The cloud is a revolutionary thing.
Right.
I mean,
if I may cut you off, Brucey, because we only have a few more minutes. I just want to ask you another quick question.
Driverless cars, men in space, the space race going on. Electric cars, the electric grid.
Right.
There's a lot of new stuff that's going on. Artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence, virtual reality. There's trillions of dollars being spent in real economic activity.
I got you. Let me ask you one question, because I want to devote this particularly to my women in the audience. If a woman's got, let's say, her husband's passed away, left her a block of money, maybe she's got a big life insurance policy that she's got some available cash, and she's really got no experience, in the market. What would you advise, a woman to do? Let's say she's, in her 50s or 60s now, and, she's still got to worry about a family. If you were going to advise her, what would be some of the areas that she would go into without taking too much risk, but, maybe offer some decent rate of return? What would you do?
It really depends on where she is in life. If she's working and has income coming in herself and has a career, that's one thing. If she's dependent on that money for her lifestyle, for her income, that's another thing. So let's say that she is dependent on that money for her lifestyle and she doesn't really have a career and she needs to get some income. I would put that into, pretty much riskless type investments. And riskless investments, I would put it into like dividend yielding stocks and also interest bearing bonds. That's probably the best bet that she could do. And I would diversify it through ETFs. ETFs are very easy right now because they're basically tradable mutual funds. You could get a high yield ETF, you could get an income ETF, you could get growth and income ETF. There's millions of ETFs out there. And you don't need to hire a manager. You could do it on your own, or you could do it with some advice from your friends, or you could hire a manager. You could hire a professional manager, which is the second alternative.
Right.
But then you got to pay fees and expenses and all that stuff.
Right.
But
right.
you know, if the woman
but you would agree that she should seek some kind of professional advice, not to just decide to suddenly buy stocks on her own or go online or open up her own online trading account.
She is. I mean, today people are pretty sophisticated. They understand the stock market.
Right.
They understand, you know, the bond market.
Okay.
You know, if you're somewhat sophisticated, you could do it yourself. If not, you hire you know, an investment advisor.
Okay. Well, Bruce, I want to thank you very much.
You know,
You're
you
terrific.
go to Wells Fargo or you go to Morgan Stanley or J.P. Morgan, and you hire an advisor.
Okay. Bruce, thank you very, very much for your insight. I always welcome you to the show and look forward to hearing from you again shortly. I am very, very happy to hear that the market looked very healthy this week, and hopefully it'll continue. So again,
hopefully it'll continue next week. You never know with this market. It's like a yo-yo.
Right you are. Right you are. Have a good day, Bruce. Thank you very, very much. We'll be in touch with you very soon. Bye now. Okay. Now, before I go to my questions from some of my people out there, I'd like to just make mention of a couple of our people that are sponsoring our show, one of whom, apropos, is Froelich Financial. Froelich Financial, headed by a gentleman named Mark Froelich, who's a brilliant estate planner, insurance salesman, but really can handle all kinds of size estates. He works with high-income people, particularly. He works with people across the country. Mark is a brilliant estate planner. He comes up with very, very unique type of programs, and those that solve problems for individuals of all types. I've known him quite a long time, and I recommend his services very, very highly. Mark's firm, which is based here in Boca Raton, can be reached at 561-807-8707. Again, 561-807-8707. I would encourage anybody out there, man or woman, who has a need to do some kind of insurance or financial planning, or even, as we said before, a woman who's got some money, who's not quite sure how to invest it. One of the other alternatives that wasn't just mentioned by Bruce is the purchase of annuities. Annuities can be purchased through an insurance company. Mark is very, very qualified to give advice in that area. So again, I would recommend that you give him a call, Mark Froelich. The next company, by the way, that is also I would recommend to you is a company known as Global Loan. And Global Loan, which can be reached at 800-878-FUND. Again, 800-878-FUND. That's 3863. Global Loan is an international broker of commercial real estate transactions and business transactions. They do transactions all over the world, and their capabilities are anywhere from as little as $1 million commercial loan to as much as $500 million. It really is a firm that can handle just about any type of need as long as it's a commercial or business loan. They do not do residential loans, but the firm operates in all countries. They obtain investors' money from various parts of the world, and they operate all over South America, Central America, United States, Europe. And so, again, I would encourage you to contact them. They have a website, www.globalloan, and I would once again encourage you to contact them if you're in need of that. Now, one other point I want to make to you ladies out there is that if you're going into any type of business, starting a company, I don't care if it's out of your kitchen, out of your garage, with your friends, going online, what have you, or you're going into an office every day with a business, one of the parts of being in business is good grooming. I've always believed that as a lawyer, and I've always tried to dress well and look well, make a good presentation, because people have confidence in people that look good. And you as a woman should, if you're going into business, should also look good. So you should pay particular attention to how well groomed you are. Now, I get some of my grooming from a salon right here in Boca. I go there for manicures, get haircuts there, although the bulk of their clients are, of course, women. It's called Salon Oasis. They're located at 6100 Glades Road, corner of Andrews. They are really the quintessential salon. It's one of the largest salons I've ever seen, and I grew up in New York. I've been out in L.A. Truly, Salon Oasis must be the largest salon, maybe in all of South Florida. A really amazing place, and it's a wonderful place to go. And not only are they very professional, the stylists there are all extremely experienced. They have wonderful colorists. They treat you like a really important person. They give you some food when you get in the door, and bagels and cream cheese, coffee when you want it. They do waxing, manicuring, pedicures, hairstyling, hair coloring, full-service salon. And so I would say to you, if you want to have good grooming, which you should, then Salon Oasis should be the place for you. Now, with that said, I'm looking forward to my questioner now. Who's on the line, please?
We have Linda.
Okay, Linda, how are you? What do you have?
Hello, Robert. This is Linda calling.
Yes.
I need some help, and I really don't know who to turn to, and maybe you can help me out.
Okay.
I have two small children. I have a little girl that is 6 years old, who's a beautiful little girl, and a son that is 9. And presently, I'm married to my second husband.
Mm.
He is not the father of these children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cleaning the house the other day, and I found a secret hiding place that must belong to my husband, because I found nude photographs of my 6-year-old daughter that were extremely suggestive and sexual, and I'm really, I put them back. I didn't want him to know that I found them, but I don't know what to do. No. I mean, I want to protect my child, and I know that this is a very complicated issue. I would really want him out of the house. I want to protect my child, and I don't know what to do. I depend on him for my income, and yet I know that there's a legal situation here, and I just don't know how to handle it.
I understand.
And I'm asking you if you have any suggestions.
Okay. Unfortunately and tragically, this type of situation exists all across the country. Probably millions and millions of households. Similar situation exists. There are tragically too many pedophiles that are out there, and many of whom are doing exactly what you're describing, taking photographs or touching children. And it's a terrible, terrible situation, particularly for the other parent and a person in a position like yourself. And I certainly sympathize with the fact that, you know, he's your husband, he's the breadwinner, he's the one who's providing the income, and so you're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. What do I do? How do I stop this from happening? And yet, how do I not end up, just filing for divorce? And particularly, I don't know, does your husband make much income? I mean, is he the type of person that could afford a divorce and pay you alimony and support? Or do you think without him, you'd be hopeless?
Well, I mean, he makes about $250,000 a year.
So he's making a decent income. Well, let me make this suggestion to you then, if I may, Linda. Initially, I think that you really probably are better off getting him out of the house if you don't have any, really strong affection for him, and especially with something like this, which is totally outrageous, and really, your love for your children probably far outstrips, since he's the second husband right now, you want to protect them, do everything you can. I would suggest that you consider telling him to leave. If he doesn't want to leave voluntarily, then I would go to the court and seek out what we call an order of protection. An order of protection you can take out yourself. You don't even need a lawyer. You can act on your own. You can speak to the clerk of the court, tell them what you want. You want to fill out, you want to seek an order of protection, and you'll fill out a form, cite the reasons, file a very small fee with the court. They will serve your husband usually within approximately 30 days. He'll be compelled to come into court to answer this complaint. And again, if he's unable to defend himself, and it sounds like in this instance he won't be because you'll have photographic proof and evidence, then the chances are the court will order at least a temporary order of protection, which might be for 90 days, 180 days, possibly even a year. And this would give you some breathing space to get him out of the house temporarily, at least till the dust clears, until you probably work things out with him to determine whether or not he's prepared to change his evil ways, or whether you want to literally, have him out of your house permanently. Now, if that's the case,
I want him out, Robert, because I don't believe that people like this can change. But
right.
I want to know, in going into court with him and stating this in my complaint,
right.
does this also bring up a legal matter?
Right.
Because I don't know what the laws are with regard to things like this. I don't know whether my daughter's been acting strangely lately, and I don't know what you mentioned touching. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Well, certainly, again, you already have the photographs to indicate, and I don't know, have you questioned him at all about this behavior?
No, I'm terrified.
No, you haven't. Right, I understand. Well, I think that you've got to, be proactive here, and I believe that you've got to take some steps. I believe that this is a very, very dangerous situation. Your daughter is very, very young, very impressionable. I can understand how devastated you can be over this, and I think that you got to nip it in the bud. All we've been reading about in the last year is this Me Too movement about, men of power abusing older women in their 20s and 30s, etc. But the area when men start abusing children and acting as pedophiles is even more dastardly. And certainly in a situation like yours, it requires immediate attention. You can't just shrug your shoulders and say, well, he's going to change. I agree with you. A leopard doesn't change its spots, and I believe you should look to take the steps that I've recommended. I'd go for an order of protection. I'd then speak to possibly an attorney and discuss the possibility of filing, for a divorce or at least a separation to keep him out of the house, at least initially and possibly permanently. And then, you'd, of course, move for ultimately child support and seek some type of alimony, because these situations, they rarely get better. Rarely. These people usually need psychiatric help. They need all kinds of other types of help. And it's not your job to be his psychiatric counselor. You've got your hands full taking care of your small children. And therefore, I think that you should take the steps that I've indicated.
Let me ask you this. I
Yes.
mean, if the courts are on my side, isn't what he's done a criminal act?
Oh, by all means. Oh, yes. If he's doing, taking pictures of an infant child, by all means, this is definitely borders on criminal action, and he could be prosecuted for this type of action. I don't know if he's done anything wrong in his past, but certainly there could be criminal. Now, whether you want to press criminal charges against him, that'll be up to you. I'd certainly seek out the advice maybe of an attorney, somebody maybe who specializes in child area. And if you don't go to an attorney, there are various child welfare centers and other welfare type centers where you can get advice. Maybe even a psychiatrist or child psychiatrist might be able to give you some additional advice on how to handle this matter. But it, again, is very serious. And again, I share your concern and worry. So I would advise you to take these steps. And I hope that you'll be able to resolve it soon, and please keep in touch with me. Let me know how you make out. You can call the station again after we're off and get my personal cell phone number, and you can call me afterwards, and I'll be happy to give you some additional advice. All right, so
I appreciate it. I really will, because I'm also concerned that if this becomes criminal and he's jailed,
all right.
then again, my how am I going to survive? I'm just so confused.
I have to sign off now. I have to take another questioner, but again, Linda, I wish you really the best, and I really hope things work out for you. Again, please feel free to get in touch with me again.
Robert.
Okay?
So much, Robert. Thank you.
Right. Have a nice day. Okay. All right. My next questioner, please.
We have Cody on the line.
Okay. Cody, how are you?
Yes, Robert. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Robert, my two teenage daughters.
Yeah.
They're 1 year apart in high school.
Yeah.
And my 17-year-old is starting to search out colleges. Putting aside the outlandish cost of a decent college, which has my head spinning, the realization that my daughter will be leaving our home has me feeling down and depressed. I know it's going to be very hard for me to let go. Any advice to get me out of this downward spiral?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I can remember back when I was going off to school. I went off to college when I was only barely 16 and a half. And even as going way, way back, I remember my mother feeling, and as well as my dad, feeling anxious that I was departing. I ended up going to school out in the Midwest. And, in fact, I never did return home. I spent 4 years out of college, and when I got out of school, I immediately got married. And so I never did return back, and it was devastating briefly, particularly to my mother. But your situation is one that's relatively common across the country today. This is a problem that all parents face as their children get older and get to the college age. It's like the bird that's about to fly out of the nest after it's been taken care of its whole life by the dutiful mother or father.
Yes.
And I know that in your situation, I'm sure you've spent countless hours with your daughters, and now suddenly, as you've said, they are about to depart for school. I would urge you.
The thought of not seeing or speaking to her every day has my stomach turning.
Well, of course, you don't want to baby her like she's 17. You don't want to have her calling you every single day on the phone. Young ladies, teenagers, they get kind of uptight. That can even alienate a young lady. And, gee, Dad, let me do my thing. They almost feel a little embarrassed. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong with maintaining, a good periodic contact with your daughter. You can have like a set aside an evening or two every week, so when she's going to call you and your wife, and be able to have an open discussion. I certainly would be available whenever she calls. I wouldn't say, I got to get back to you, honey, I'm too busy, or, call me back the next day. Anytime she calls you, I would, if you can, set aside whatever time you have to talk to her for as long as, she needs you. Quality of time now will become more important than quantity of time. And that's really something that I can't emphasize enough to you, Cody. You really need to now maximize the good times you have with your daughters and both daughters before they go away to school. And I'm sure you've had a wonderful life with them up to now, which is probably why you feel so depressed, because you're going to miss them so. But I believe that if you're able to, again, maximize whatever time you have with them now before they leave, that'll further strengthen the bonds that you have together. And I hopefully you'll be able to continue speaking to them regularly, particularly your older daughter now. And keep yourself from, getting too down. But it's not an easy accomplishment. And I share your feeling of, worry about, gee, what's the future going to bring? You really won't know for sure until, she's off to school. Where does she have...
But at this moment, quality over quantity.
Yeah. Now, Cody, where is she planning to go far away?
Well, I am thinking of one college in Israel.
Oh.
But every time I think about how the distance of that, my head just spins.
Yeah. That's already, 8 or 9 or 10 hours. Time zone different. And that's not just like her going to school in Miami or something where you get on a plane to visit her in a couple of hours. But again, at the end of the day, you got to do what she wants to do. It's her college career that's at stake now. It's her, ultimate decision, hopefully, to determine where she would like to go and where she's qualified to go. And I think that too many parents make a mistake and say, well, I want you to go here, or I want you to stay at home. I want you to go to school here in the city, just because they want to keep that child so close. Well, that's unfortunately, I think, a selfish attitude to take, because it doesn't allow that child to grow in the proper way and allow them to choose the school that they believe is right for their future. Remember, they're young adults already. They have a good sense of what they want to do, where they want to go, what they want to study. And as much as it may hurt in your heart, I think if you really, really love your daughter, as I'm sure you must, then you're going to have to eventually allow her to fly, as we say in a metaphor. She's going to have to be able to fly from the nest, and you'll have to grow to accept it in time. Initially, it's going to really, really get to you. I can't get away from that, and I'm sure nobody can.
Do I put up a strong front, or do I show her how hard it is for me to let go?
Well, you know what? I've always been from the school to allow emotions to flow. I think that, if you love your daughter, as you obviously do, I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think you have to be, like very cold and take that approach, do your thing, and, like insensitive and not show any emotion. On the contrary, I believe this is it's a big decision. I don't want you to make your daughter feel guilty. On the other hand, I think you should make her understand how meaningful you are, or rather she is to you, and how important a decision this is, and how much you will miss her, how much you do love her, how much your wife loves her, how much you do appreciate her being around. And consequently, I think that will make her feel that much warmer about you. And even while she's away, she'll continue that love and know that you'll be supporting her, even though you're not with her on campus. If she needs anything, if she needs any kind of support. Today, unfortunately, nowadays, kids go to college. The first thing that they do is they get on the phone, and all they want to do is they call Daddy and say, Daddy, send a check. Send a check. I'm not trying to make light of it, but the fact is, I am certain that you, based upon the way you're talking about your daughters, you'll maintain close contact with them, and you'll find a way to convey that emotion to them and convey that love that you have for them, so that they will preserve that relationship with you. You'll miss them, but they're still one phone call away, and surely you can visit them on visitors' weekends, homecoming, etc. There's times during the year that you can find your way to visit them, or have them fly in back to your hometown and spend some time with you and your wife. And so I would recommend that you do that.
Wow, thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. I feel a lot better now.
All right. Well, I wish you the best, and certainly I hope that your daughters make out really, really well in school. It's an exciting time of their life now, and the fact that you have two daughters like sort of back to back, so you're going to kind of encounter this not once but twice maybe the first time around, you'll still just have your second daughter still in the house, so maybe it'll soften the blow a little bit. But I'm sure that when your other daughter is ready to go off to school, that will, we hear about the term empty nesters. Well, that's what you will become. Now, you'll deal with it. You sound like you're strong. Are you still working? Are you retired? Or, what are you doing now?
Yes, I am retired.
Okay.
I am retired.
All right, fine. Well, that means that you have
time on my hands.
Right. Good. So that means you have more time to give, or you've had more time to give to your daughters probably in recent years, which I'm sure has enabled them to bond even greater to you than a man who's been busy all the time at his job.
It has.
Good. Well,
absolutely right.
That's great. So you've underscored my point of quality of time. You've spent good quality of time with your daughters, and I'm sure that that's going to stand you in good stead with them. So I really wish you the best, Cody.
And thank you very much.
Okay, pal. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you again.
All right,
thank
great.
you so much.
Good. Have a good day. All right. Okay. Well, I am going to be finishing the show very shortly. I will mention ever so briefly that I've been getting calls and emails about people that are getting all kinds of numerous phone calls at home from telemarketers. They get calls in the morning, the noon, and night, same telemarketers over and over again, day in and day out, and it's driving these people crazy. And what do they do about it? Robert, what do I do? Well, there are remedies. There's something called the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. It was passed, it's a federal law passed in 1991. There are state laws as well that bar telemarketers from calling you. There's something called the Do Not Call Registry on which you can register nationally. And if these people continue to call you, they're violating the law, you can bring a legal action. What I would encourage you to do is if you do get one telemarketer to call you constantly, I would keep their calls on your voicemail. Don't answer the phone, but just accumulate them. And after you've accumulated a number of them, give me a call, all right? Give me a call because it's an area that I happen to know a lot about. I'll be able to give you some advice. And ultimately, you can bring a legal action against these people. You can collect damages. The TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protection Act, authorizes ultimately $500 per call and a penalty for every call that's made without a permission of the recipient, so without written permission. So with that, I wish you the best, and call me if you wish. Now with that, I want to sign off today. I look forward to speaking to you next week. We've had a great show today. Thank you, and be well. Thank you for listening and watching Ask Robert today. It has been my pleasure sharing with you up-to-date information about the stock market and business, as well as investing, financing, real estate, and other commercial and general subjects. My guests are specifically chosen by me to provide sharp thoughts and ideas on the various subjects affecting the economy in a unique and informative manner. I enjoy answering your calls, and you can reach me at 561-483-2334 or by email at bobseibel, B-O-B-S-E-I-B-E-L @yahoo.com. Remember, knowledge is power. Dare to be great because so few people make the effort. This has been Robert Seibel. I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Have a great week.